What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing another preview video for round 2 of the Rugby World Cup. We're going to have a run through the teams that have been announced for both sides, who we think some good picks, some thoughts on how we think this game might go, and finally, of course, giving a score prediction. If you enjoy this style of video, make sure to drop it a like. We've already done one for France versus Uruguay. That's out on the channel. You can go watch that one already after this one if you haven't already. This one, though, New Zealand versus Namibia. Now, the All Blacks last week, of course, played France and came away with a loss, and actually came away with nothing in terms of points in the pool. You'd have to say, given the rest of Pool A, I've still got great confidence in New Zealand qualifying. I see them go on to pretty much win all the rest of the games. No disrespect to the other teams. New Zealand do have a pretty monster team. That first game of the round was probably the decider between first and second in the pool, but maybe Italy could come in and try and cause a bit of an upset along the way. But for New Zealand, they'll want to try and bounce back after that game. Some players stood out really well. We got to see that massive tackle going in from Richie Mo'unga that stopped a definite try for Damien Penaud out on the wing, but I'm sure they'll want a real big step up for this game. They need to get those bonus points just to secure the fact that they can qualify out of the pool. Starting out then with the New Zealand team, of course, we've had quite a few switches along the way. Namibia far lower ranked than France, so you'd be expecting a few changes for this game. Make sure as many people than your starting team are as fit and as healthy for that Italy game, just to ensure you're probably going to be the team getting out of the pool. So starting out in this front row, Offa Tu'ungafasi taking the loose head prop, Taukiaho goes in the hooker position, and Nepo Laulala going in the tight head. Now, Namibia last week went up against Italy, and you have to say Italy looked like they were controlling a lot of areas in that game. The scrummaging for New Zealand will look to be a real power area for them, as well as the line out. So I expect this front row to be going for some big power games. I wouldn't be surprised either if New Zealand lean into the forwards a little bit, and we do get to see some driving maul tries in this game. They back their forwards. Probably a good team to test themselves up against is Namibia. I would certainly say that New Zealand have the dominant forward pack over Namibia, but they do like their physicality. You get a bit of test, you get a bit of experience in there for if you happen to get through the pool stages, you can look towards those quarterfinals and stuff where you'll come against some big teams, get that driving maul absolutely secured against, some big teams in this World Cup. I certainly think we could be seeing Taukiaho go over for a couple of tries in this one. In the lock department, Brodie Retallick goes in alongside of Sam Whitelock. Now, this might be a lot of people's first choice of the lock department. They've certainly been testing Scott Barrett in this mixture as well. They've also, of course, been testing him in the flanker position. I like this as a pairing. These lads have played together, a number of times now throughout their New Zealand history together. So a really solid lock department for them. In the back row, Luke Jacobson goes in alongside of Dalton Papali'i, and Ardie Savea goes in as the captain in number 8 shirt. Now, they lost Sam Cane in the warm-up for the game versus France, which was a bit of a late shock for them in that captain's run just before they got kicked off against France. So Luke Jacobson had to get sort of thrust into that game, and they had to make some shifts, which won't have helped them going up against a big team like France. This week they've got this set. Looks like Sam Cane hasn't recovered from that injury. I haven't actually looked up on the news or anything to see how long he might be out for with this one. But Ardie Savea taking over as captain, an absolutely superb player. Has done captaincy before as well. Might have looked at some other people like Sam Whitelock. But Ardie Savea, considering how aggressive he is when he has the ball in his hand, actually talking to the referee, he's got quite a calm nature about him. He actually does seem to get on quite well with the referee. So I'm looking forward to see how they get on. 1 through 8, they've definitely, when you talk about going up against a team like Namibia, New Zealand are going to lean in towards the B team. But the B team for New Zealand is also full of massive players, right? I can imagine a lot of people wanting to see Ardie Savea start. Sam Whitelock, Brodie Retallick absolutely could be starters. Dalton Papali'i also in that mix as well. There's certainly a lot of starting boys for this team, but there's still a lot of massive players in that forward pack, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to getting their teeth stuck into this one. In the halfback partnership, Cam Roigard goes in alongside of Damien McKenzie in that fly half shirt. Now, Beauden Barrett's also playing. He's still staying in that fullback position. I did wonder, they're probably going to rest Richie Mo'unga and not have him starting in this game, probably put him on the bench, which is exactly what they've done. But Beauden Barrett, I thought, actually might slide into that fly half shirt. They've gone towards Damien McKenzie, who from the games that I've seen from him more recently in the All Blacks jersey hasn't necessarily been the best. In terms of kicking towards posts, I imagine they're still leaning towards Damien McKenzie because I believe at the club level he was still doing, pretty well percentage-wise at kicking over Beauden Barrett anyway. So we'll see how they get on. It's quite an attacking halfback partnership, to be fair. Cam Roygaard, we saw him, what he can do when he has a little bit of space to work with those little sniping runs. He's a very, very fast scrum half as well. Looking forward to seeing him get the start. And Damien McKenzie, I think both of them between them will want to play at pace. And although the forwards will want to get stuck into this one, I can absolutely see the backs wanting this ball quick recycling, get it shipped out wide because they've certainly got some fast backs. In the centre partnership, David Havili going in alongside of Anton Linnett-Brown. Still no Geordie Barrett. I didn't know if he was going to recover from his injury in time. Maybe they get him some minutes in against a team like Namibia. They haven't gone for it. They've stuck with Anton Linnett-Brown from the last match, moved into the outside centre, and David Havili coming in on that inside centre. Also got a bit of a kicking option from David Havili in terms of his running game as well. He can do some cheeky little kicks just to let loose some of the rest of the backs, including this back three then. Leicester Fainga'anuku, who picked up an injury as well, right, just before kickoff, if I remember rightly, in that game. So don't get any minutes in that game, but gets to start in this one. Caleb Clark on the right wing and Beauden Barrett in this fullback position. So a lot of chopping and changing going on in the backs, but you have to say it's a very attacking, very aggressive back setup. Fainga'anuku and Caleb Clark will always be looking at going forward with the ball in hand. Beauden Barrett, you've got as a second kicking option alongside Damien McKenzie, who likes to go on the attack as well, and David Havili in there as well to maybe put a couple of cheeky kicks in. He lets someone like Beauden Barrett chase on the end of it. So a lot of attacking players from New Zealand. They've lost that game to France. They know they want to come away with a bonus point, and I think this team reflects it quite well. They're going to be looking to go on the offensive in this one, so Namibia might have a bit of a long day in this one. In the substitutions then, we have Dane Coles goes in alongside of Ethan de Groot and Fletcher Newell, so a solid front row to bring on in that second half. In the rest of the replacement forwards, Scott Barrett goes in alongside of Tupou Vai. Still no Shannon Frizzell. There was a lot of rumours that he was going to miss that first game, but he only had a small sort of niggling injury that was getting to him, and I thought after that first game he might have recovered. Might be the game where you could have him on the bench, chuck him on for that last 20, but looks like he's still not quite in full shape going in for this game. And then in the replacement backs, Aaron Smith, Richie Mwanga and Rico Ioane coming in that. Oh man, that's a really solid bench actually. Looking at it now, there's the joy of doing these right. I don't really look at the teams before I start making these videos. That is a really good solid bench, to be fair, coming on from New Zealand. There's a lot of players there. You may even say you'd want them starting against a bigger team than Namibia. So as this game goes on, I feel like if they haven't got their 4 tries in that first half, some of these lads going on in that second half are just going to start doubling down the pressure on this Namibian team. So, it might be a bit of a long day for Namibia because that bench has actually sort of caught me off guard. That is a big bench to be bringing on. We'll see how New Zealand get on. But I can certainly see quite a few scores coming in along the way. In terms of Namibia then, Namibia last week played Italy, came away with a bit of a devastating loss in terms of the scoreboard. A couple of players did actually play really well in the game. They did test Italy in a couple of different areas. In terms of the Namibian team, I'm no great knowledge base for the Namibian team. We've had a couple of switching arounds of some players. Retief is moving into the lock position from playing open side flanker last week. And Gauseb, hopefully I'm going to get that pronunciation right, moves into that open side flanker. In the halfback partnership, Stevens and Swainapole, who actually really impressed me in terms of his kicking game around the park. He was giving Italy all sorts of issues, some fantastic exit clearances from his when Namibia were pinned back in their 22. He's got an incredibly long-range boot on him, and was certainly causing Italy a few issues in that game. So absolutely one to watch out for in this Namibia team. Grayling has been moved to the bench, and LaRue Malan has now been moved into that inside centre, with Danko Berger being dropped from the team entirely from this game. So a few changes going in for Namibia along the way. Unfortunately, I apologise, guys, that Namibia is still one of the teams that I don't know a great deal about. I'm trying to use the World Cup to learn a little bit more about them. But definitely keep an eye out for Swainapole because, man, he was a bit of a superb player in that game going up against Italy. In terms of a score prediction then, what do we think? Well, that New Zealand team's actually looking a little bit bigger than I expected it to be. I think they've got a pretty dominant forward pack there. The backs also looking very aggressive going on the attack, and the bench looks pretty monstrous. I'm not going to lie. That is a big old bench for New Zealand. I can see this game actually getting away from Namibia a bit. Italy won 52 points to 8. So, you know, you're sort of in your mid-40s there. And that's Italy, who weren't necessarily getting all the little bits correct on their attack. But you had to say Namibia, although they were defending hard in the middle of the field, out towards those wings is where the issues began to come from, them getting stretched a little bit thin, too many gaps opening up. We saw Kapuotso, Ioane, you know, these lads absolutely opening them up on the wings. And when you go over to the New Zealand team now, Caleb Clark's a difficult man to stop on the wing. Fainga Nuku, another one who, you know, gets his ball in his hand. He's going to just run the length of the field if you give him that sort of room. I can see New Zealand taking this one with a bit of a thunderous score, I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to say New Zealand to win this one. I'm going to say by 65. That is going to be my prediction, guys. Make sure you get your scores down in the comment sections along with your thoughts on the team. Make sure you are getting all your picks up on Super Brew. It's a really tight turnaround this week. We have the France game tomorrow at 8 p.m. So, yeah, you've got to lock your teams in pretty early. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going to try and get as many preview videos done tomorrow as teams are getting announced as we can do, just to let you know who's going to be available for the fantasy. Some of it might be a bit of guesswork. I'm honestly not going to lie to you. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.